Hello everyone and welcome to the Shadow Realm. Today we're going to showcase my Phantom Knights deck profile. This is going to be my updated list post BODE, but before we start, friendly reminder to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Also, check the links down below if you want to support the channel in any way, shape or form. Now without further ado, let's dive right into the deck profile. We'll start things off with triple copies of Phantom Knights of Thornscales. This card is going to be hands down the best normal summon of the deck. It allows you to send a card from the hand to the graveyard in order to foolish another PK card to the graveyard. Also, the fact that it gets back to the field when a PK card is banished allows this deck to extend even further and create some really impressive boards. So if you open this card plus any extender, it's full combo. Next we are playing the second best PK card in the deck, triple copies of the Phantom Knights of Silent Woods. This card is essentially your best in-archetype extender that you can special summon for free if you control another PK card. Also, you can banish it from the graveyard in order to search for any PK spell or trap. We always want to see it, so we play 3 copies. Next we have another card very important to the PK strategy, 2 copies of Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. This card has 2 relevant effects. The first one is you can change it to defense position and boost one of your monsters by 800 attack, and the second one is that it can search any PK monster. The last 2 PK cards that we play in the main deck is 1 copy of the Phantom Knights of Stained Greaves and 1 copy of the Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves. Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves is the card that you can banish in order to foolish any PK card to the graveyard, and also gives 1000 attack to the Xyz that use it as material, while Stained Greaves can special summon itself from the hand when another PK is special summoned, while it can also banish itself to special summon a PK from the hand. And this wouldn't be a PK deck profile if we didn't play triple copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Moving forward, this card becomes more and more powerful because fewer decks are actually using many hand traps like Ash Blossom and Effect Failure or Infinite Impermanence, and this card always resolves. It also can special summon from the deck 1 Fiend type monster and negate its effects, so that's why we're playing 1 copy of Seer of the Burning Abyss and 1 copy of Graph of the Burning Abyss. Tour Guide allows us to go into Cherubini with ease and also allows us to send any PK monster that we need to the graveyard, utilizing of course the effect of Cherubini. Next let's go to the extenders of the deck. We're playing double copies of Kagemucha Knight and now 1 copy of Junk Forward. I actually cut 1 copy of Kagemucha Knight for Junk Forward because it allows us to special summon it early in the combo, and with some certain hands we can go into Cherubini without needing to normal summon. As you will see, we're playing many level 3 extenders, so this will be very easy to do. Next we're playing 2 copies of the most broken extenders in the deck, 1 copy of Danger Jackalope and 1 copy of Danger Tatsunoko. The best way to utilize dangers is when we have Thornscales on the field, so we can pitch them to the graveyard and get a free body that we can later link into Cherubini. And with center hands we can also pitch the cards that we don't need to the graveyard and draw another card in the process. The last 2 level 3 extenders are 1 copy of Psychic Tracker, 1 copy of Psychic Wielder, and of course we're playing the single copy of Emergency Teleport. I usually played 2 copies of this card, but in this version of the deck that we're including the Destiny Hero package, we want to have meaningful draws, especially in the grind game. So opening another copy of Emergency Teleport in conjunction with any of these extenders in the grind game, it's kinda meaningless. And now moving on to the new cards that we include in the deck is 1 copy of Destiny Hero Celestial, 1 copy of Destiny Hero Dasher, and the artifact Scythe. Now, instead of running 2 random vanillas, we're running 2 cards that have relevant effects in the graveyard. Dasher is really incredible in the grind game because it allows us to special summon, for example, Thornscales for free, and if you have Celestial in the graveyard and you control no cards in the hand, you can banish it alongside Dasher and draw 2 cards. Now moving on to the spells that we play in the main deck is 1 copy of Reinforcements of the Army, that's essentially any warrior that we're missing, and 1 copy of Called by the Grave. In this format, Called by the Grave can be used very efficiently and offensively against our opponent's Phoenix Enforcer, but keep in mind you don't have to go into your own copy if you do that. Moving on, we're playing triple copies of the newest addition in the deck, Fusion Destiny. This card is really powerful, especially if you activate it at the end of your combo, so you don't have to go into Anaconda. That's the main difference between this card and Red Ice Fusion. This card is not a brick in the hand, and usually if you have multiple copies you can send 1 of them into the graveyard, so you can bluff your opponent that you don't have the best resources in the hand. Next we have the best addition in the deck, 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. I actually swapped out the triple tactics talent for this card because usually going second this card is really powerful, especially trading 1 for 1 and allows you to go for your full combo after that. And the great thing is that this card doesn't conflict with your Sage Brigandine. Moving on, the most powerful card in this deck is triple copies of Forbidden Droplet. This deck can utilize this card at its full potential because you can almost discard all your hand in the graveyard, so you can negate all your opponent's monsters and go for no decay after that. And keep in mind that even if your opponent has Imperial Order, you can send 1 of your traps to the graveyard and prevent them from activating it. Now moving on to the trap lineup, we're playing a single copy of the Saint Brigandine. If you don't open this card, this is usually the target that you set with Effect of Partis. We can use it as a generic material for Appaloosa, or go for Artifact Dagda, or even use it for Link Spider and go for Predaplan Verde Nakoda. Now the heart and soul of this deck, and the reason that this deck is so powerful, is triple copies of Fog. This is essentially your Fidget Chain in steroids. This card allows you to negate your opponent's effect while they're face up on the field. It also can banish itself from the graveyard to revive back your Phantom Knights, while also preventing your opponent from attacking certain monsters on the field. And the last PK card in the main deck is one copy of Phantom Knight Sword. The reason that I prefer Sword over Wings is the fact that it can provide 800 attack, and in many cases this is exactly one negate for Appaloosa. As for the last card in the main deck, we're playing triple copies of Droll and Lockbird. In this format you want to have some kind of blowout card. Droll is great against the mid-range and combo decks, and can end the turns from decks like Invoked, Drydron, Leader Dusk, and so many other matchups. Now before we go into the extra deck, let's go into the side deck. We're playing one copy of Imperial Order and two copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. These cards are here to ensure that our opponent doesn't use blowout cards like Lightning Storm or other forms of removal against us, and these cards also ensures that our opponent won't be able to use cards like Dark Ruler no more. Also, these cards are turn enders, especially against decks like Sky Strikers, Sadol Invoked, or Drydron that require to use spell cards during their turn. Now moving on to the back row hate, we're playing a single copy of Red Reboot and two copies of Lightning Storm. These cards are really powerful, especially against the trap matchups, and the mirror matchup is also a trap matchup, so these cards are excellent there. Also, many decks, like the Trap Brigade strategy, doesn't have any form of spell or trap renegade, so these cards are essentially a board wipe. And if we manage to open Red Reboot in conjunction with Lightning Storm, that means we're winning the game against any trap matchup. And sticking with the back row hate, we're playing triple copies of Twin Twisters. This card is essentially the back row equivalent of Forbidden Droplets. It allows us to deal with our opponent's back row, while also sending the resources that we need to the graveyard, so we can continue later with the combo. And the great thing about Twin Twisters is the fact that they play around Artifact Lancia, so this is a card that many people side against PK. Now moving on to the last cards that we have in the side deck is triple copies of Artifact Lancia and triple copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. As I mentioned, in this format we want to have high impact hand traps, and these 9 hand traps alongside the Droll and Lockbird are the most powerful against any matchup. Both Artifact Lancia and Nibiru are great against the mirror match, while also being able to counter many other combo decks, like the Leader Dusk. They're also great against Sorcerer that actually die on Nibiru, and also great against the Drydron matchup and similar combo matchups. And these were the last cards in our side deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we're playing a single copy of Link Spider. This card is essential if we get interrupted, so we can have an effect monster, so we can link out for usually Predaplant. Moving on to the link twos of the deck, we're playing one copy of Cherubini, one copy of Predaplant Verde Nakoda, and one copy of Artifact Dagda. Every single one of these cards are essential in our opening combo. Cherubini can dump any level 3 to the graveyard, so we can get the board advantage. Dagda can set the Scythe when a monster effect is activated on the field, and then Predaplan Verde Nakoda actually summons the Phoenix Enforcer, so we can destroy the Scythe. Now moving on to the Link 3 lineup, we're playing a single copy of Rusty Bardis and one copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn is great going second because it can shuffle back our opponent's resources, and Rusty can actually set the traps that we need and actually send the PK to the graveyard. Now rounding up our Link monsters, we're playing a single copy of Appaloosa Both the Goddess and one copy of Access Code Talker. Appaloosa is great going first because it can establish usually 3 negates, while Access Code Talker in conjunction with Nightmare Unicorn can wipe our opponent's entire field, and we can go for game after that. If you can't afford Access Code, Borderless Sword can work great in the deck as well. Now moving on to the Xyz lineup, we're playing a single copy of Levier the Sea Dragon and 2 copies of Phantom Knights of Breaksword. Levier is the card that allows us to get the resources from the banished pile, while Breaksword allows us to destroy our opponent's resources, while both of his effects are not once per turn. Now my rank 4 of choice is Time Thief Redoer. This card allows you to put back your opponent's resources on top of the deck if you have a trap under it, allows you to draw a card if you have a spell card under it, and also can banish itself so it can bring itself back during the end phase. This card can be incredibly great, especially in the grinder matchups, because you can easily make a 6 or 8 material Zeus. And speaking of Zeus, we're playing a single copy of Downward Magician and one copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. Zeus can be a blowout card, especially against boards that have the Phoenix Enforcer, because it sends cards to the graveyard, and also Enforcer doesn't have a negate like Dragoon does. So since he won't be destroyed, he won't come back during the next standby phase. And now the new boss monster of the deck is Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. This card may not be as powerful as Dragoon, but the fact that it can return every standby phase and also destroy your resources, while also destroying your opponent's resources and allow you to draw 2 cards through the effect of Celestial while also having a fusion spell that's not a brick in your hand makes this card incredibly powerful in this deck. And that basically wraps up my extra deck. And that was today's deck profile. If you want to see a follow-up video where I explain the combos of this deck and go more in depth on how to play around hand traps, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. If you have any questions, there's a Discord link in the description. And until next time, stay safe and I will see you all in the Shadow Realm.